All right, so we're going to start with properties of a trapezoid. Now, a trapezoid is a quadrilateral, meaning it has four sides, but it is not a parallelogram.
What? Oh.
Okay. So, a trapezoid, that's the first word, is a quadrilateral with one pair of parallel sides. Okay, not both pairs, but one pair of parallel sides. The parallel sides in a trapezoid are called the legs. No, I'm kidding. Wrong word. Bases. I'm ahead of myself. The bases. And the non-parallel sides, those are called the legs. Okay, the parallel pieces are bases. The non-parallel pieces are called legs. So far, so good?
Yep.
All right. The next one, it says a blank blank is formed by a base and a leg. That is a base angle. And I'll show you where all these are in just a minute in a picture, okay? A base angle is formed by a base and a leg. In trapezoid A, B, C, D, so look to the picture to the right. Which segments are parallel? What are they called? Look at your picture to the right. What's the top segment that's parallel to the bottom segment? What's the top one called? What letters are there? AB. Okay, so segment AB. And then the bottom one is called DC. Those are my, just kidding. Erase that. I didn't read the rest of the sentence. Sorry. I thought we were talking about the bases. It's talking about the base angles. So look at the top. What two angles are at the top on either end of that base AB? What angles are there?
A and B.
A and B. Okay, so angle A and angle B are one pair of base angles because they're on either edge of the base. I'm going to highlight them in your picture. Those are base angles right there because they're on either end of the base. So what would the other pair of base angles be? D and C, yeah. Angle D and angle C. Those are my second pair of base angles down here. It's important to be able to identify those base angles because we're going to talk in a little bit about a different type of trapezoid. And it's important to know those base angles because those have a relationship, which we'll get to in just a few minutes. There are only two properties of trapezoids, okay? The first one says only one pair of opposite sides are parallel, which is what we talked about at the top. And my TV is not catching up with what I just wrote. That blank right there, right after only, is supposed to be one. There we go. And then the next one, the consecutive angles. Okay, not the base angles, but the consecutive angles. So A and B are a pair of base angles. D and C are a pair of base angles. So my consecutive angles would either be A and D or B and C. Sorry. Thank you. Those consecutive angles are supplementary. So we're talking about A and D add up to be 180, and then B and C also add up to be 180. Those are the only two properties of regular trapezoids. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Okay, then we have,
You didn't say thank you.
I did. Right after I sneezed. The next we're going to talk about is an isosceles trapezoid, which has the same name as a triangle, isosceles triangle. And what happens in an isosceles trapezoid is, first of all, it has the same properties as regular trapezoids. And then it has a few extra. The first is diagonals are congruent. Sorry, I had to figure out what I was talking about. The legs are congruent. The base angles are also congruent. And then consecutive angles are supplementary, which is the same as, I don't know why that's listed here, but I can spell. So they have the same properties as regular non-isosceles trapezoids. The diagonals are congruent, the legs are congruent, the base angles are congruent, and our consecutive angles are supplementary. So I want to kind of just look in our picture and talk about that. The legs are the pair of sides that are not parallel. So in an isosceles, those would be congruent. My base angles are congruent, which means angle A would be congruent to angle B, and angle D would be congruent to angle C. And then if I drew my diagonals in like this, those would also be congruent. That's what those first properties say of an isosceles trapezoid. That make a little bit of sense? And then my consecutive angles, again, A and D are supplementary, and B and C are supplementary. Yep. The second half, the back pages, I didn't record the first day for some reason. So there should be one video. It says part 2. That's the back side of that paper. All right, so let's use those to find some missing angles. We have to be careful about if it's telling us that they are isosceles trapezoids or if it doesn't say isosceles trapezoids, because the properties are a little bit different. With this first example, does it say that that is an isosceles trapezoid, or do I have my legs marked congruent? I asked a question. Does it say that this triangle is isosceles, or does it have the legs marked congruent in that first example? Okay, one more time. Does it say anywhere that this is an isosceles trapezoid? Yes or no?
No.
No. Do I have my legs marked congruent in the picture?
No.
No. So therefore, this is just a regular old trapezoid. So it only has one pair of parallel sides and consecutive angles supplementary. It wants me to find angle K and angle M. So let's start with K. Which one is this supplementary to? J or L? L, okay? So what we're going to do is to find out what K is we're going to take 180 and we're going to subtract 51. So do that in your calculator. 180 minus 51. Okay. The next angle it wants me to find is angle M. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Take 180 and subtract my 87. You said how much? 93. Okay, so as basic as that with just a regular trapezoid. Your parallel sides are your bases. Okay, your base angles aren't supplementary. It's your consecutive angles that are supplementary. So one on either parallel line.
Wow. Where did you get that 87?
It's right there at top at J. Does that make sense? All right, so with that being said, try 2. Exactly the same thing. Find angle C and angle D.
Can I go to the restroom?
When we're finished with notes.
At least the front.
The whole thing. All right, if I'm going to find C, I do 180 minus what?
62.
C.
Oh, sorry. 31.
So that would give me,
149.
okay. And then to find D, I'm going to subtract what from 180?
62.
And what would that give me?
118.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
All right. All right, what I need you to do first is read what it says for example 3 about MNOP. What kind of trapezoid is it? Isosceles. So let's label what it tells us. MP, I'm going to start with that one. Sit. Okay, we don't see all this.
This kid just started dumping. Yeah.
What was it? That's the earliest.
Don't worry about what I was at.
Oh, okay.
That shit. That nigga big as fuck. It was Polo and Amari.
It was Polo and Jim with the big ass look.
Kamari.
Yeah, Kamari, yeah. Polo and Kamari.
This old ass nigga on my dick. It's still recording?
Label MP as 16x minus 13.
Whenever Zoom got to give them a breakdown, tell them that you're back. Because it was like 2 minutes where you wasn't there and I had to stop the video.
Thank
She's back, y'all. Just get 2 minutes.
All right, the other thing it tells me is NO is 9x plus 8. So I need you to label that as well. Where are you? Where are you?
Oh, hey.
Where were you? Really? It's 12.
All right, NO is 9x plus 8. What do we know about the legs of an isosceles trapezoid?
They are
There.
Okay. Me either.
Shut up. Thank you.
All right, so what do I do to those two?
Set them equal to.
Thank you. So let's do that.
Like this.
Of course it did.
Duh.
Yeah, the screen went off.
All right. Okay, so let's solve that for x real quick. We got to hurry. Now that we got distracted. I'm going to subtract my small x 9 over to the 16x. Then I'm going to add my 13 over. Was that 21? So if 7x equals 21, what would x equal? 3. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Is that finished?
Yeah.
No, it asked me to find x and y. So look at the next part. They tell me Pn, that is this whole piece. What is that called? Of the shape, what is it called? A leg, a base, starts with a G, diagonal. That is 5y plus 19. I'm not going to be able to write on top of these. And then the other one, MO, is that another diagonal? Yes, that one is 12y minus 37. What do we know about the diagonals of an isosceles trapezoid? They're also congruent. So set those two equal to each other. 5y plus 19.
So after that, I kind of
No.
like wasted my whole time.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
I always do the list.
Keep going. Solve it out.
Oh,
Oh, that should be a y, not an x. What's that, 56? What'd you guys get for y? 8. Okay, so regular trapezoid, one pair of parallel sides, consecutive angles are supplementary. If it's isosceles trapezoid, base angles are congruent, legs are congruent, diagonals are congruent, and consecutive angles are also supplementary. Now we're going to talk about the mid segment of a trapezoid. What do you think a mid segment is? It's a segment in the middle, right? Kind of the name of it. All right. So the mid segment of a trapezoid connects the midpoints of the legs. Everybody ready? Okay. It says if EF is the mid segment of trapezoid ABCD, let me make sure I'm doing the right thing. Yeah, okay. There's two different ways we can look at this formula. I'm going to show you the way that they give it to you and then the way that I think you'll prefer to use it because it makes it a little bit easier, okay? So that mid segment, what segment is that called? The segment in the middle of the trapezoid. What letters are on the end of the middle segment? EF. Okay, so EF is going to equal 1/2 times the sum of the two bases. And what that means is I take the length of the top base and the length of the bottom base, the parallel sides, and I add them together. What is the top base called? AB. AB. Okay. Plus, what is the bottom base called? DC. Okay. So that's the formula that they give you in all the books. Your mid segment is equal to half the sum of the two bases. However, how many of us like fractions? None of us, right? So another way, a better way that we can look at this formula, and I will give you this formula for the quiz, you don't have to remember it, is doing it a different way. And I'm going to write it below this blank because I don't have enough to squeeze it in. It is 2 times the length of my mid segment equals my two bases added together. Okay, so what that does is that just gets rid of my fraction, and then I don't have to worry about a fraction because nobody likes fractions, and it's just easier to deal with an equation without it. So you take the mid segment, multiply it by 2, you set it equal to the two bases added together. Flip your paper over.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Not yet, we're almost done. We're almost done.
So those are the two.
Those are the two formulas, yeah. I think you'll probably prefer that one better. Okay. So let's start with question number 1. Label in your picture, and we're going to have to erase because we have separate questions, but label in your picture, AB is 14, correct? Okay. DC is 26. And it wants me to find EF, so I'm going to call that X. Two times the mid-segment equals base 1 plus base 2. All right, we ready? Everybody ready to set up an equation? All right, 2 times, what is my mid-segment in that picture? What do I have my mid-segment labeled as? X equals, what is my top base? 14 plus my bottom base, which is okay. What's 2 times X? 2X. And then do 14 plus 26 for me. What is that? 40. We're going to divide both sides by 2. And so what does that mid-segment equal? 20. So that's for number 1. I want you to do number 2. Same way. Erase what you labeled in your picture. Relabel the new information. And set up your equation. It's up there on the board.
I wasn't even on it.
You were on it. You're not supposed to have it because it's supposed to be in this basket here.
I had to get it just in case I had to call the cops because of the incident. Just in case the red button didn't work.
Do number 2. You want to go back and we want to already finish, right?
I'm at 2. Let me see how you do it.
Usually. You're not.
I'm not even on it though.
That was fast.
Class would go a lot faster if you wouldn't distract me. What is AB?
7.
Okay, what is DC? And then EF we don't know again, so we're going to call it X. Okay. So again, 2 times my mid-segment, so 2 times X equals my top base plus my bottom base. Oops. So 2X is going to equal what? Okay, and so therefore X is going to equal 19. Is everybody kind of okay with that? All right, now sometimes it's not the mid-segment we're trying to find. Sometimes it's the base, but the process is going to be the same. Erase what you have labeled. Let's look at number 3.
Hey, Ms. Rich, I got a question. Why are you trying to be the first one over there like you was gonna...
Because I'm trying to help my neighbor out. I'd hope somebody would do the same to me.
Okay.
All right, label EF. What does it say EF is for number 3? 22?
And can we come and see when they bang on the wall?
Absolutely not.
It's a loyalty test.
No. What is DC? 38. But this time it's asking me to find AB. So what do we call AB? If we don't know it, we call it X. Okay. The only difference here is my X is in a different position. The formula is still the same. 2 times my mid-segment. What is the length of my mid-segment in this one? 22? Okay. So 2 times 22 is going to equal what is my top base labeled as? X. Plus what is my bottom base labeled as? Okay.
Ms. Rich, I gotta go now for real. It's almost...
Do number 4 and then I'll let you go. Go ahead and do it. And you guys show me the answer and it's got to be right. What's 2 times 22? Whoops. So if I have 44 equals x plus 38, how do I solve that? Subtract my 38, yep. What's 44 minus 38? 6. So guess what that is? All right, I want you to try 4, and then we'll do the last one together. Label your picture, what it tells you.
Ain't she on the other hallway? What's she doing?
I did it.
Okay. Which one are we trying to find out? Okay, so put X on that one. Okay, so it's 2 times which one of those is your mid-segment?
This one. Oh.
Equals your top base plus your bottom base. Now solve that.
So 2 times 47. Yeah. I got it.
Again, erasing our labeling, relabeling for the next question. It tells me that AB is 41. It tells me EF is 47. And it tells me DC is X. So, 2 times which one is my midsegment? Equals, what's my top base? Plus my bottom base? Okay. 2 times 47 is how much?
There's something that y'all did yesterday? I don't like it.
Say that one more time.
There's something that y'all did yesterday. I don't like it.
Then we're going to subtract 41 over. And so what do we get for that X? 53. Okay. It's the same formula over and over again. My X just moves. Now we're going to do this last one. It is exactly the same thing. It tells me Y and Z are my midpoints, which means that middle segment is my mid segment. This one's just going to be a little bit more complicated to solve because it's got a little bit more going on. Is everybody ready? All right, so we're going to go 2 times, what is my mid segment labeled here? The middle, 5x minus 19. There are 2 parts to that. So when I multiply it, I'm just going to put that 5x minus 19 in parentheses so that I don't forget to distribute it. What is my top base? Even though my picture's upside down, what is the top base? 38. Plus, what is the bottom base? All right, work on solving that one for me, please. Finish solving your equation that we just set up. Solve for X. And then once you have X, you're going to plug it back in to find the length of YZ. It is. We're still going on each part. So I just took the X that I found and I plugged in the X here so I found the length of the side. That's all. I could use that one or that one.
Square part, not it. I just square it.
That's just it, you just 3 times x plus 7, so 15 is 14 plus 7 plus. That one doesn't, we're not finding, we didn't have to use a right triangle, we just said 2 things equal to each other. So until okay, because it's all 4 sides of the rhombus are the same, so.
Okay. All right, what do I do with that 2 first? Distribute. So that's going to give me 10x minus 38. And on the other side, I just have that 1x, and then I'm going to combine. What's 38 plus 14? 52? Does that make sense? All right, I'm going to subtract my 1x over to my 10x. I'm going to add my 38 over. That gives me 9x equals, how much is that? 90. So therefore x is going to equal 10. And then I just need to plug it back in to what yz is. It is 5x minus 19. That means 5 times 10 minus 19. What's 5 times 10? 50. And 50 minus 19 is going to give me 31. That's my final.